Now, can you hear me?
There you go. Now I can hear you.
All right. How you doing?
Yeah, pretty well, mate. Yourself?
Oh, I've been very busy. Took a couple days off trading just to hang out with the family, and we went to the state fair all day yesterday.
Nice.
It was pretty busy. See if Chad's going to show up or not. I don't know how to get this place busy again. I've been trying, but
Yeah, just the market in general is a little bit stale, so it might be hard to get people interested.
can you see two monitors or one?
I believe it's just the one monitor with you got your two charts on the one screen.
Okay. Have you ever messed with futures before?
I haven't. No.
Have you ever wanted to?
Um, Curious to learn more, I suppose.
Okay. I have to get the kids ready for school. All right, it's just me and you, Aiden.
Yeah, mate.
So there's a. This isn't like affiliated. I'm not. I'm not doing this for money. But I have been testing it myself, and there's a thing called Top Step Trader, and I've been testing it off and on, just using their trial setup, and it's been pretty consistent
Yep.
for profit. Let me see if I can share that screen now. I think it could be a killer for some. Like if you don't have our system, that's for sure. Like, not trying to be like egocentric, but
Yep.
let me see if you can you see this screen now?
Sure.
Okay. So I'm trying to figure out how to get both screens shown on the webinar. I don't know what's going on. You see this right here? So
Yep.
they start you with 150,000 account, and I'm up 1,700. And some of my trades have been off and on. The futures are a little choppy sometimes, so it's almost like playing an altcoin for me because there's a lot of retailers in there. So you have to kind of just ignore like some of the bullish or bearish movements in between a bigger movement. So it's been working phenomenal though. So what they do is you do a trial, right? It's like a 14-day free trial, and if you're like having consistent, if you're doing consistently good, then you can do a funding account. Now, I usually don't agree with funding accounts just because there's like too much like red flags going on. But this is I mean, you can even look it up yourself. It's like number one for funding
Mm-hmm.
account, so it's pretty legit. The customer service is pretty good, and it seems like a retelling type of setup. So I guess the just the whole point with everything going commission free and stuff, it's just a good time to get into some of these other avenues where you're not going to have to pay all these fees. Um,
Right.
so basically you you basically put in like I don't know if it's $300, probably $300-400 or something.
Mm-hmm.
So you open up a funded account, and then they have a max drawdown. So if you like lose, let's just say you open up a $150,000 account. If you lose $3,000, like you're done. Like you just lost $300, if that makes
Right.
sense. So if they let you keep the first 5,000, and then after that they take that you take 80% home, and then they take the 20%. So it's pretty normal. Obviously, you're playing with a bigger capital, so you're risk reward is going to be a lot different than playing with the smaller. But they do have like I think it's like $200 one for like $50,000 account. So I would definitely recommend like 150,000 if you're going to do it or not. But
Yep.
man, this thing's magical with the bands, just magical. These trades I was doing with my eyes closed, like I'm not even playing. Like I was up like $1,400. It's so easy. It's so easy. And I don't know if you're still in that one chat group Telegram that I was. I don't know if you're lurking in there or not, but
Yeah, I poke in there from time to time.
I got in a little debate because I post things in there, right? Like I'm trying to help people, trying to promote the Discord, trying to promote the indicator, but this one particular person, he's such a mental trader, like he's waiting for a lower target, but he's missing profit.
Yeah.
And I'm making calls that could make you money. It's like, that like this was a $200 move that you could have profited on, and that's a lot of money. So I feel like some of these guys are just so like they're the mental people that I remember from a couple of years ago. We used to get them into the Discord sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they'll even some of these guys have purchased this indicator and they still don't use it because they don't know what they're doing. So it's so interesting, especially when you see like Elliott waves and everything else that they're putting on the charts. It's like you're just confusing yourself,
Right.
Like I'm not dissing other indicators. I'm saying that my system works. Like you shouldn't need other indicators. If you're using other indicators, that means you don't understand my system. It's pretty simple. If you overcomplicate this thing and don't follow the rules, you're going to lose money. So that's really what it comes down to. And I'd use this thing on a regular basis trading stocks. Like if this wasn't a system that wasn't making a living for my family, I would not use it. Like,
sure,
that's just stupid right there, So, anyways, the funded, the top step you can try it. It's a free trial, and then just play with it. I would, just test it out, see for yourself. So I have like all the excuse me, mini futures and stuff going on, just like this NQ. Sorry, let me pop it to the other screen. I gotta like get these screen shares fixed or something. So this is that mini Q and stuff. If anything, I'm looking more for a short. More for a short than an actual going up higher, just because it's getting in those red bands. So I think this might be a good play tonight or today. I'll short this out later on. But it works really good. I've been like ecstatic with it. It really works good on like the 2-minute time frames. Like you can see like where it's kind of testing this VWAP right here. So you see like this line here and then the VWAP itself. So you can see it's going to short, right? You can see it's going to keep dropping. Even if it could test here again, this line, but it could just keep dropping down. So, and you can see it's getting tighter here on the bands. So I guess it could have like a quick pull up and then drop again, but eventually it's going to drop, and that's what I'm waiting for. And that's patience, So that's the key things you're looking for. Now, if you're doing like if you're doing like a scalp scenario, then you would look at this play that's going on right now, and I would say if it passes like this line through here and it stays above it, then I would play it, and it's probably going to go higher. So it's just you have to make rules that apply to the bands themselves, right? So that's just something important. But if we go back to Bitcoin one. This is the one I was talking about with these guys, and I saw it clear as day on a different chart. Sometimes, like if you go on the the Phoenix chart, you won't see the movement. You won't see the play because the VWAPs are a lot lower. So you're thinking, well, this thing's going to retrace all the way back down to the VWAP. Well, it's possible, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen right now. You know,
Sure.
People want to make money. It could just start rolling that way, you know, rolling that direction like this. But this could possibly keep climbing up, right? So this VWAP could just keep going up like this, and then these bands are going to keep going down and then roll back up. So it might not even hit 6K. It might just keep climbing this mountain. So it's very possible people who are waiting are losing money. Essentially, they're missing a good entry, or
missing opportunities.
Exactly, and that's the point I was trying to make with him is like you're a mental trader. You know, you're trading with your mind. You're not trading with the smarts of the charts. You're not looking at it from, you know, other good traders' perspective. You're looking at it from a retail perspective, waiting for a lower target, but you're missing profit along the way. So it's what it is. What it is. I'm almost at the point where these people are kind of like fundamental traders, and I just can't have conversations with them, right? Because they're so dead on the set where the price is going. So your trade, I don't know if you ever did that bowling, but that was a great call the other day.
Right.
I glanced at it. I don't really like messing with stocks and whatnot, like during the weekend.
Yeah.
I'll get, yelled at. So, but it was a really good call. You pretty much nailed it. You said it was going to drop. It did. And then it bounced. So what I was looking at was that I think it was like the daily. It was hanging around here somewhere.
Sure.
And I was noticing that it's bounced off this deviation before. So I was predicting that it was going to bounce off that deviation again. So I think the biggest thing, especially with these bigger companies, even if they're, in hot water, like it takes a little bit for them to like dramatically drop. So we always have to like pay attention to that too. And we have to kind of we have to predict where the price is going to go according to the bands. So the bands will be our guiding, or what do you call it? The torch band, or what do you call it? The guiding light or something.
The guiding light.
Because what happens is when we start thinking about it and we start thinking about the news and everything else, then we're not looking at the roles of the bands. We're just looking at what everybody else sees. The question is, who's making profit? The people who are looking at the news, or the people who are looking at the technicals? So, and then it depends on like how many people are looking at the same technicals, right? So if there's a lot of people looking at Bollinger Bands, or a lot of people looking at MACD or RSI, then maybe the bots are like calculating that and saying, hey, we're gonna switch it up on, like we're actually gonna go against what they're saying. So they're saying that because the Bollinger Bands are a good time to buy, we're gonna sell it, right? The algorithms are competing against some of these popular indicators. That's why this indicator it doesn't feel that heat of the bots going against it. Usually if it's in the green, it goes. If it's in the red, it goes. You know what I mean? So a broken strategy would be if there was like millions of users or hundreds of thousands of users using this indicator.
Sure.
The algorithms are going to change, because they don't want anybody making money except them. The big institutions and stuff. So everybody sees the VWAPs, right? And the institutions aren't going to change that. That's just the VWAP acts like a magnet towards the price. So that's never going to change. However, getting the optimal entry is what we're looking for. We're looking for the less risky of the two, you know. So that's kind of my strategy when I'm trading, is I look at the overall where the big guys, if they are interested in the stock or whatever I'm looking at, or if they're not. So so if I'm playing a scalp move, you know, even if the overall is looking like it's going to go down, you can still take profit on the way, you know, up and down. You can still take it both directions, even if it's still going down. So what's that make you, right? Like, it doesn't make you a fundamental person because you're not investing in it. You know, you're not going to add like 100 shares and then just leave it be. You know, you're going to play it for, you know, maybe 10 minutes or 20 minutes, and then you're going to sell it, right? Like, most of my trades last for like maybe 5 to 10 minutes, you know. Now, when it comes to some of my investing trades like eBay, that's only when it comes down to these levels, right?
Sure.
You know what I mean? So if I'm going to play like an investment or a longer play, it's when it gets down to these levels. And that's when I use like, I set my scanner up to go at what do you call it? It's like, they're called RSI bands. You can get it on TradingView. I'll have to send you a link. But I have it, I programmed it to Ameritrade. So anytime the RSI bands are in the RSI is around like 20-ish on the daily.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I pay attention to those, because if it correlates with my band in the lowers, then I'm like, dude, this thing's gonna bounce. So that's not like, you know, that's not wizardry. That's not like fundamentals. That's just me looking at technicals, and that's how I trade.
Sure.
And so it's more or less, you know, looking at the overall part of the markets, looking at the sectors, you know, seeing what's in the red, what's not. And there's so many different like strategies out there that people are trying to either sell or proclaiming that they make money off it. For me, it's just, I mean, the proof's in the pudding. Like, either whatever strategy you're using, if you're using your mind, the mental part, you're always going to fail. But if you're using the technical part of your brain, the smarts, then you're going to pass, because you're going by the rules. So I think that's what really gets people caught up in the game of trading, and how they can lose a lot of money. So what's your take? How are you doing so far? You said you were doing paper trades.
Yeah, been pretty slow this week. Had a few wins with one small loss. Well, I haven't closed that one yet. I'm leaving it open.
Which one is this?
I must have hit my stop loss, actually. Sorry.
And this is on the TradingView?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was LITB.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, actually, a lot of those on the watch list did pretty good.
Yeah.
For instance, RMI did good, made money off that one, and then and B and ED, and then Vila, both those were all solid. You know, see, the biggest thing for me is when I'm going to play something like these, the lower floats. Believe it or not, it's actually, I don't really like to play it like as a scalping position. Sometimes I'll play it as a swing position, and I know that sounds crazy, but it's because of how it looks on the technicals. It's how it looks. So usually, like on Sunday, I'll do my scan, and then I'll bring these up, and kind of see what the levels are. And I'll either wait, I'll set alerts, and then I'll play them, or then I'll just play them, after like pre-market or something. So it just really depends on if it looks good to buy or not. If this was like this one right here, if this was down here somewhere, I would be more interested in it.
Yep.
Right. So actually, let me fix that. Okay. I thought that had extended, but yeah, always have your extended on. It's very important.
Yep.
So where are we going? LIBT. Oh yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So you can see it's just like a big downward push.
Sure.
Even though like it's going down and whatever, you can still make profit, on the zigzag. But just remember that it's getting more and more like risky. So this is similar to what like Bitcoin's doing. Like it tested the VWAP or whatever, and now it's kind of rolling back up. Mm-hmm. So it's something I would pay attention to, these shorter bands. And I believe the short bands are, I don't think it's those on a 3 minute. The long bands on the 3 minute, are they? That's pretty close. I thought they looked kind of familiar. So there you go. So your long bands on your 3 minutes is your short bands on your daily.
Right.
So see, that's kind of a cool thing too, even though it's maybe they're not like super accurate. But my point is like you can see this faster scenario going on, even when it's on this bigger time frame. So it helps you get an idea of this whole collection right here for this candle, if it's going to start rolling. So I would just pay attention to this part right here. If it starts, going like this,
right,
then I would be interested into it. As soon as this starts becoming, because think of it like this, right? How do you know like when it's going bear or bullish? When the price starts bouncing off a higher deviation each time, right?
Yep.
So right now,
your higher lows.
Yeah, exactly. Right now you're going like lower highs. So this could, if it stays this course, then it's not safe, right? It's deciding because it's already out of this deviation. It's already out of this checkpoint. Okay. It was through this channel for quite a bit. So now it's out of it. So now it just needs to roll. Okay. So your confirmation, let's just say this is where I would probably buy in, maybe the dollar mark, or just play it now and then put a stop loss right there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
And you can see that I'm going to share this with you too. I think you'll like this little this new algorithm. It's great. It's like a little price action.
Right.
It shows the pretty good supports and resistance. It's pretty accurate. So even this, if it drops below this black line, then it's probably not going to test this dollar, right? So
yep.
Something to look at. Obviously, the issue with low floats is low volume, right? There's not a lot of volume or interest until
I've noticed that. It makes it difficult, doesn't it?
But what's interesting is sometimes I see the movements before they're popular. So, and that's where you can really make profit. See, look, wait, let me share it again. Actually, I'll just share it here. I just wanted to show you that call about the futures going down. Look at that. There it goes. So it dropped as we predicted because it couldn't get past here. So it's very important. So right there, that would have been a huge amount of profit. We're talking like $600. That's pretty much your day. Make $600. I try to average like 1,000, but $600. That's pretty good. Low risk.
It's a good day.
Yeah, and take the rest of the day off. Or if you feel like you're can get more profit off this, right? You would look at this area to see if it's going to bounce here, and then just go to a higher time frame and see if there's a VWAP maybe pulling it down. This one is kind of, but it is in the green and it has bounced off this deviation before, right? So then you go to another one and say, okay, it's testing this VWAP right here. Boom. So this might bounce again. So it could be even a awesome entry point. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So better entry point down here, temporary entry point right here. So go this time frame here, same kind of thing. You see it this VWAP area. Now it doesn't always hit the VWAP, like the actual line, but it's very, very close. If you see like back here, there was a candle, candlestick right there. This wick hit the VWAP. So, and then it's never, we haven't hit it again. So it could bounce here again, right? So it's important to pay attention to the candles and then the overall direction. And these are kind of running parallel. Like you can see where, well, you can see it's curving a little bit. So usually the bands will intersect, right? The short bands and the long bands will intersect each other. Okay, so you have to just figure out how you're going to play it. What's going to make you more profit? If you sell it or if you buy it, right? And I think you're going to make more profit if you sell it. If it passes this VWAP right here. And then you just look on the daily, which obviously there's not a lot of data for this. So you probably go to like even a 12-hour or something where you can get a little more data. You can see it's rejecting off this deviation. And it's falling away from the deviation, right? So it's like, you ever been in a like water skiing before or something?
Sure, I have.
Sure. And you fall off the skis?
Yep.
Yep. And the boat keeps going? Yep. So that's basically what's happened. You know, the party boat or the boats, there you go, and you're in the water. And the bands are still going the other direction and they're not coming to pick you up. So it's possible that could happen. The only concerning part that I would look at is right through here is this, you see how it's kind of curving down?
Yes.
So that would be a lower low, right? Or a higher low. So even if it wants to test this deviation up here, you can kind of get a game plan, right? You have to look at both sides. You can't just be bear or you can't just be bull, right? Especially when you have a powerful tool like this, because it's giving you the both directions. It's letting you see what's going on. So let me, if you see like this curve happening, right? And if it keeps that, so you can see there's some selling pressure going on. Well, let's just say it does bounce. It's going to bounce. If it starts curving down, it's going to bounce at a lower price than it was right here. Theoretically, that's what we're looking at. So if that goes back to those rules, then you can see that this was higher. So this was high, right? This is second, and this is third. So theoretically, if it makes another peak, then it should be like down here. So we're thinking our trace of our bands are going to go like this.
Right.
Okay. So I before I was into like I used to read the tape, right? That's how I used to trade. And I used to follow my strategy doing the pivot candles strategy. So it's just looking at the different high highs of the candles, right? So it's very easy, it's very simple, and it works. Sometimes more volatile stocks can do that, but you can see the overall pattern, what's going on, right? But what helps the strategy is looking at the bands as well, you know, looking what the bands are saying. So you can see what happened last time. This, you know, they were right in this deviation and then it rode away. So it was like, and it started, that would have been a great time to short it. So it looks, what you're looking for, the most important things, is there support, a lot of support in the green on other time frames right here. So what you would do is you would put a marker, right? And I think we already have one. Yep. And and then see if this marker here is in the green anywhere else on any time frame.
Mm-hmm.
So did I just change that to an hour? I did. Fix that. Let's see if we can find it in the green anywhere. Closer. Right there. That's pretty close, huh? So this is a little short play right here. So we'd have to be very careful if we're shorting it, because it could bounce right here because we're in the deviations on the green.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does.
That's why you can't just play a bull or a bear unless you know that it's in the long run, the overall is going to be a bear move, or the overall is going to be a bull move, right? So when I'm evaluating a swing play, I'm looking for, these little tiny like moves it's going to do in between. Okay. So these bands are sort of like kind of narrowing into a squeeze. So futuristically, I'm thinking this is what's going to happen. It's going to start squeezing through here. Okay. And it might test this nether region again, this deviation, which you can see on this time frame, okay? Which makes sense because it's already bounced down here. This was your best entry, okay? If you were playing this stock, your best entry was off this green band, okay? So your best sell point was most likely right here, which makes sense over here. See, you would even caught some of that wick. See, people don't even catch the wick, bro. Like they catch like right here somewhere, or they're see. So it's like the big guys just made the most profit, right? They sold at the top. They bought at the bottom. They sold at the top. Now our retail needs to figure out what's going to happen next. So we're in this consolidation phase, correct? So either A, it's going to bounce here, and then it's going to retest. But even if it retests up higher, it's going to be a lower price. Like a lower
right.
Okay, so all we're looking at is the narrative. We're looking at how these bands are going to render in the future, right? And if we can put this guy on here with our brains, right? Like if we can draw it in our head, then we sort of know that the overall is going to be a bear play, not a long. Okay, so I would say if this was a short play, I would wait until it gets to this top deviation one more time. Then I would sell it. And then if it plays right, then you're looking at maybe a bounce. If we were to draw this down, something like this, let's just say it goes up here, and then it probably just carried down, but you can make profit all the way through here. It'd do something like this. Okay. So anytime I'm doing like a longer play, this is an example of how I mess with them. Even though it seems like a lot of like cute little doodles, those cute little doodles make a lot of profit if if you kind of see what you're looking at with the bands. So, and I think a lot of people just don't understand that. They can't see the future moves yet. It takes time to learn. But the more and more that you keep practicing, which you are, right? You're like my most active person.
Yep.
The more and more, this is going to be like a real profit for you, like on a daily basis. And then you're going to be sitting at the house all the time, and I can be like, well, how much, would you bring in today? Well, I made like $1,000 profit. That's awesome. Like Hayden gets it. He finally gets it. So that's why I just don't like getting into funny arguments with some of these other guys because I already make profit. So it's like, I can't tell them what to do. I just know what's going to happen. So, we have a better projecting, and it was the same thing with Bitcoin when I predicted that bull run in June.
Mm-hmm.
It was because of this. It's
Yep.
just, it's patience and it's timing. That's pretty much that's going to make you money, right? The fundamentals and all that other crap, that's not going to make you money. So because you have the power to look at the lower time frames and see if this thing is a good time to buy or not. That's what's so awesome. People who play just on the daily, they don't know how long it's going to take for this movement. So they think it's just going to be some drastic like drop down, and sometimes that's not the case. And you can see it's going to squeeze in here, and it could just consolidate over the weekend. So that's it's just watching those movements and stuff. So
it probably ties back into what you said just before, going through the different time frames to see if it's just sitting above like a green band on the shorter time frame, or the shorter band, sorry. What I wish I was better at is seeing when you've got the squeeze going on, like you can see on the 20-minute time frame there on the shorter bands, you're starting to get a bit of the squeeze going on there to be able to then predict because that's usually when you're going to get a good move, right?
Mm-hmm.
To then be able to predict which way the move's going to occur.
Well, do you know what a squeeze is, right? A squeeze is when the shorts they don't know what to do. They're running out of space, right? It's coming to a deciding point. Sometimes it takes forever, and that's called, consolidation. And then the next step is price discovery. So the biggest thing is, when we go into these squeezes, the first thing we need to look at is a different time frame that's not squeezing as much, and seeing where it looks like it could be searching for. So when you see a squeeze like this happening, and there might be even one on Bitcoin, that's why it's important to go through some of these other time frames. Not Bitstamp. Good Lord, I have a lot of lines. Maybe this one. So we see on this particular one, look at the bands, dude. The bands are going up.
Yeah.
The bands aren't going down. And this is something that people have a hard time seeing. They see this huge dramatic drop and they automatically think, it's going to drop again.
Right.
It could, but it could also be already bounced. So it might drop a little bit, but maybe it's not going to hit the 72 range. It might hit this range, but maybe that's just to get some more investors involved or whatever they're trying to do, accumulate volume. So when it comes to like these squeezing points, like this one back here, okay, what we do is we look, see, this is like a whole candle. And I'm pretty sure you have your charts like this, right? You do the same thing.
I frequently have them side by side like this.
So this doesn't give me enough like data. All I know right here from this is that there was a good entry right here on these green bands, right? And you can see it was the same entry here. You would have held here, right? Sold here and then bought at the same entry. So that was a pretty predictable entry.
Yeah, that would have been beautiful.
So now what's it going to do? Well, this time it tricked you, but we would have saw that directional movement from the bands because the bands weren't curling back up. See, it never curled up. The bands were still shooting straight down. So if these bands keep shooting straight down, then okay. Then maybe we're just playing this ping pong stuff going on, but we're still going to hit this lower deviation. It's very possible, right? But that doesn't mean that it might not test back to 8K again or areas where you can make profit.
Sure.
So this range here, where it's so tight, what we're looking at is like there's a little squeeze through here. So what we do is just adjust our bands to find where that squeeze is. So there's a accumulation period.
Mm-hmm.
But even when it's accumulating, right? the bands are still moving. The bands don't stop moving. The prices, even if they're staying in the same price, the bands are still moving. So if the price is moving away from the lower bands, that means it's trying to go higher, right? So you can see there was a VWAP act like a magnet through here. So our next step is this to roll and for this to go higher, right? And then you can see the absolute resistance level at the 8K mark, okay? So this could be a little weekend bull run. I mean, it's very possible. Because so many people are thinking it's going the other direction. So that's one way to kind of look at these squeezes through here, because you can see on this time frame, it's like it's sitting on the VWAP. It never dropped down, right? So you would just if you were playing this, you would have bought here and held, and then just kind of follow it on the other time frame, and you can see that it was moving higher on the deviations. So it started way low right through here, and then it climbed and went through here, and then we got through a VWAP, and then it climbed and went through the second band.
Yeah.
And then we're about right here at the first band. Okay. So it also rejected at the first deviation as well. So, and you can see there's a lot of resistance in this area. So it just depends on this, like, that's why I mean, like this 8K range is where I think it might reject again, but doesn't mean you can't make profit off it. So this is also like, if we look at this here, we would go to a lower time frame to kind of see, because, you know, we're in the red, right? So it's doing the same thing. So it was up high on these bands, and then it started chasing away, right? So if it keeps doing that, then a better entry point might be, you know, in this 75,000 range,
right?
7,500. So it's more of like a waiting game right now. If you don't get the main entry, wait. Don't get into the entry right now, right? Because then you're chasing a trade. And I've always said, don't chase a trade. The only way I would chase this trade, like if I was to get into it, which will make sense anyways, is when it's right here. If it gets up to here, I'll play this trade because it's going to be less risk, because it's finally found support on this deviation, and that means we're going high. So, but if it comes up to here and then it goes back down, right? We can even see, like, if we put a marker on that, we can even see where we can make the most profit. If we were playing a scout move on this, that it'll probably most likely reject this deviation again.
Yeah.
Because it would have to pass this checkpoint.
Sure.
Does that make sense? So
it does.
Gosh, this thing's such a money maker. But yeah, check out the Top Step. I'll send you a link for that. You can play around with it. I don't know if I know I'm pretty sure it's international, so I don't think I don't think there should be any issues, but you'll just have to let me know. Yeah, it's a 14-day trial, and just test it, and you and I can just kind of like play together. So you can let me know how your trades are going. I'll let you know how my trades are going.
Yeah,
so it's a little different on the other markets that you're not playing that I'm playing. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I think I did like a paper trade on something. Where was it? Yeah, I think it was account history. Yeah, that was a good one. That was a BIB play. So this was a great example here because someone was actually asking me, should I play the BIB for a short? And I basically said, well, you see I got this beautiful red line here, which it hit perfectly. But I said, you know, if it was failing at like the 86 mark, And I said, if it gets to like 84, you can short it. And then sure enough, it did. And then boom. Right. So that was when I did my own little trade on it too. But you can play, depending on if you're allowed to, it really depends on your brokerages and stuff. Sometimes they don't allow you to do shorts, you have to have more money in your account, or each brokerage is different. Sometimes they don't allow shorts. They only allow you to buy. So, but this guy was asking, and I was like, okay, this is my opinion. So, and it could bounce, but I don't think it is. I think the party's over on this stock. Was there any other like stocks that you were interested in, or paper trading, or testing?
Nothing else. I haven't had a chance recently to go through anything. It was just the ones that you had sort of put up last week that I've kind of had a bit of a play in and see how things went this week. And obviously, well, I don't know if it's obvious, but I follow Tesla a bit as well, so it was interesting to see that jump. But that's all news related, so it's a little bit hard to have called that price action.
Well, there was a couple things that happened. Earnings, number one.
Yeah.
And then two, that it retested this deviation 3 times. So it never bounced down, So if you were into this trade, you most likely, if you would be like holding it, I would have waited and see if it would have dropped below here. If it wouldn't, I just would have held on to it. Right? It doesn't even matter if it dropped a little bit. You made so much profit. So yeah. Those are the rules too. Sometimes even if there's not news, right? Like even if there wasn't the earnings, if it's not dropping below these key support lines on the deviation, just hold on to it.
Yeah.
So some parts is you have to like let go of that fear and just do it, and just play by the rules of the bands. If the bands are, if it's accumulation through here, but if it does drop, keep your stop loss like real tight, so you're not going to lose money, but you can make a lot of money. So, that would have been like a nice sight to see. I wasn't even paying attention to Tesla. But one of those narratives, yeah, if I was playing this, personally, for one, I would have waited for the best entry to play it, which was in the green zone, right? So I probably would have played it back here somewhere.
Right.
This is, where it comes, you got to have some patience. But that's why the 5 minute is so key. Anytime you're looking at like your trades that you want to get into, you want down here. You don't want up here. Anything
exactly
in this range is chasing a trade.
Yeah.
So anything in this range is boss status. So, and then you want that confluence with the other bands too. If there's a lot of the other time frames are shown in the green, it's even just confirming that it's a good time to buy it. So, but yeah, that would have been my play with Tesla. Is I wouldn't have joined this rat race. I would have been back here if I was paying attention to it. The problem is people don't have patience, so they wouldn't have known about this entry. But we do. To take off the DSAR, we don't know about that entry.
Yep.
So, even if you have MAC ID, RSI, it doesn't. You're not going to know about that entry right here.
Right.
Yeah. Good luck. I mean, that would be a really hard entry to find. So, in that narrative. So when it comes to like it's resisting its point right here, it's going to test this level, of course, and you can see if it does break this VWAP, it's breaking. It already broke this deviation, so this might be a sellout potentially. It might short. or it might find some stable ground. But we know that for it to find stable ground through here, these bands need to match up. So it might come down here. Who knows? When it's in this like volatile narrative that it is, like a squeeze, like it's doing, right? That squeeze that we're talking about.
Sure.
Well, for one thing, there was accumulation through here, right, off this line, and that's what we're seeing through this the aftermarket hours. And so what we would look at, because there's a lot of short pressure, so this thing could like dip down first thing this morning when the market opens and go, whoop, and then bounce.
Can definitely see that happening.
But then, I look at like the 2-minute time frame to see if there's anything good, like a good entry down here. Boom. See, that's actually, that could be your balance right there. So because these are squeezing as well, this looks like that might be the entry. So it might like, but is this band at a higher price than this part right here? No, it's even. So like for instance, this part right here is higher than this part. See how it's 256 and up here it's 258?
Yeah.
So that's another good way to find out like if you're gonna have like lower lows or whatever, is your deviation going, is it going lower? So that means that the price could drop down lower than previous. So for this one here, you can either play it now, wait for maybe a $300 confirmation. But see, if you get to that $300 range, you're losing profit. Let's see. I'm just looking at where it's at on this deviation. 303, 302. We go, you can see a VWAP right here. There's that bounce we were talking about, 296. There's a lot of like selling pressure. This is some upper movement. The bands are kind of shooting this direction. See, anytime you're playing in this mean right here, this middle,
yep,
you gotta find some ground. There's gotta be ground somewhere for this thing to bounce. If there's no ground, don't play it. Oof. Let's see, 20 minutes. So, oof. So it would basically have to tread through this VWAP. Yeah, I would say 300. That would be the safest play, honestly. Like if I was going to play this, I would wait till it got to 300, then I would play it. If I was shorting it, then I would wait till it got to 300. Because it might be, if you could put your at 50 cents or so you're not losing too much if you're playing the short on it. Because it could, since it's already in the deviation, you see it ran away from the deviation, it could drop, pretty significantly, which I've seen before too. This is a little more stable down here. See, I'm looking at this right here. This is like a, this is a good one for me. Like a good test to see if I would play this or not this morning.
No, I definitely find them hard to call when you had a big pump or dump like that, to then when you're having that price discovery to then really make a call. I really have a hard time with them. I usually give it a good amount of time so you've got more data of where that price discovery is, so you can figure out where you're gonna play it.
So kind of looking at like how the bands are on the weekly. Still showing a little downward pressure. 20. The reason why I have mine set up to 1440 is because you cannot see the extended on the daily. So if you go like this, it looks totally different to this. See? This.
What looks different? I'm not following you.
Sure. So on if you do just the D, right?
Yeah.
The 1 day is not going to show the aftermarket party that happened.
Oh, gotcha.
So that's why I changed it to the 24 hours.
Yeah.
You can see the aftermarket party. So it's really important to see if it's rejecting any like major areas. So you see some rejecting right here. There is like upper like. Look at that. That's weird. I just wonder if it's just going to dip and then it's going to go back up. This entry is still the best entry. Let's see here. See, there's like buying pressure. But is it going to roll? I wonder if that's going to roll right through here. Maybe that does roll. I'm kind of like talking to myself and talking to you, but
sure, no, it's all good.
So if you're like, so it could like roll like the bands and do something like this.
Yeah.
So it's like, even if it like hits this, that's a pretty popular spot back there. It has hit this deviation before. So it could do something like this. And then like, you know, make a nice 350 or not 350, but like 330 or something. I would, yeah, you have to make a rule on this. Like you can't just put money at this thing right now.
Yeah.
I would say this is your rule. 295. I would say if it breaks this peak here, then it's going to drop and maybe test this area.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm thinking. If it stays above this deviation, that just never happens though. It never happens. When there's a crack in here, in this in-between part, it usually will find support on this guy. And then, of course, there's a big gap in this other support range.
Yeah.
Let's see what the 10-minute looks like. Yeah, see, and it's already kind of like rejected. But see how there was a gap right here?
Sure.
And then it gapped down?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Like there might be a gap down this morning and then maybe a prominent bounce at 280-ish. About where I have my red mark. Uh-huh. Yeah, it's all about like, even doing this here, right? Like I'm not super going fast and like, okay, and this is where I take my time because, you know, when you put like money on the line, you know, this is your income. You know, this is, even if your capital is good, you know, you still don't want to have like bad trades because when that happens, sometimes you like crash, like your mental part crashes, like you don't want to trade anymore.
Yep.
You feel like you're going to lose every time. So it's just good to do like good research on some of these that you want to play. And the overall, like the thinking process for me is it's going to keep going down. Like what do you think?
Well, when you have a big pump like that, I tend to generally see more retracement. You know, it hasn't really retraced a great deal yet, so I certainly think there's more downside for sure.
The thing is, though, right? Like what I'm concerned about is going to gap down and then it's going to bounce up. Like you won't even be able to get out of your position fast enough.
Yeah.
Let's just say short right now. Like I put an order in, and I'm going to short this, and then it gaps down, but I didn't have enough time to close my position, and then I'm right back to where I started, and then it's even climbing faster. So that's my biggest concern with these, like in the middle range areas, because obviously if it drops past 291, yeah, then you're making a ton of profit on your short play. The question is that what they want? You know, are they trying to sell it? Or are they trying to just trick people?
Yep.
Into selling.
Yeah, those VWAPs are tasty though. I was looking at BTC earlier on in the week, and it was like on the 10 and 15 minute chart, and it was like I was eyeing off the VWAP like it was a little bit below the price, and I was like, oh, I wonder if we're going to go down and test the VWAP, and didn't do anything about it, didn't put a trade on, but woke up next morning, and sure enough, she had dipped down a few $100 and hit or broke through the VWAP. So I was like, oh, damn.
You think about the VWAP, right?
Yeah.
Like it's basically, you know, like the checkpoint. And, you know, a lot of good traders use just the VWAP to trade. Like even on my other chart here, I just have a VWAP on my Top Step account. And it's pretty similar to my Ameritrade account, just because I'm looking at the overall, if they are rejecting or accepting this particular asset or stock, whatever. It does act like a magnet though for price. So it even if it looks like there's a big gap right here on the VWAP, the bands show you the direction that it's moving. So even if it like, and that's what I was just drawing right here, is the VWAP is like it's still moving, and I can't see the movement of the VWAP if my bands aren't on there. Like it's impossible. So if I like turn off my band, I can't see where the VWAPs are going. You see what I'm saying? So that's what you can play, just the VWAP trades as in saying like, okay, if it breaks this VWAP, you know, 2 candles, then I'm going to sell it. If it goes up the VWAP 2 candles, I'm going to buy it. But you're missing out on a lot of profit, and it becomes a risky trade. So when it comes to this particular situation, like it's good to have the bands on so you can see where that direction of the price is going. Because maybe if you think about like an auction, right, and there's like the big buyers out there and they're trying to buy a particular item, but they know what price they want for it, but they're just waiting for the rest of the majority of people to either pump up the price or they're just trying to find what the price they want, you know. So that's basically what's going on. There's like an auction. The VWAP, the institutions are waiting for it to get to a particular price. Maybe 291 is that price, and then they'll buy it. So there might be a little rejection this morning, and then a buy. I'm actually curious how that's going to come through.
All right.
I'm going to pay attention to that one. Let's see. I like to look at some of the altcoins too, when it comes to just where I think Bitcoin's going to go. LTC is always like a favorite one. That's how I found the bigger bounces. You can see it's in the deviations are in the green. It's kind of like that same scenario that we saw in Bitcoin. If it passes through this deviation, it'll probably play higher. But sometimes you can see some of these safer bounces. See, this was interesting. It fell this deviation through here, and it fell here. So let's see what happens again if it's going to fall. There was one particular I was looking at that had a good bounce. Where was it? Is it ETH? Yeah. It doesn't matter what exchange. Sometimes I'm just looking for the good bounces on these deviations.
Mm-hmm.
You can see where it's tested this before. Boom, tested again. And sometimes you can't get that information on Bitcoin. You know, like it doesn't show that. So it's good to look at the other the other alts just to see if there's there's a clearer picture to what happens. You know?
Right.
So this is even more clear because it said like it bounced here and then it never really touched this area again. Bounce, sold, wait. But it could go lower. So you want the bands to shoot this way if it is an actual bull run, which doesn't mean it can't crawl back up. See on a higher volume, sort of the same thing happens. Yeah, I mean, what do you think? Like that to me, that looks like a good bounce. Like that doesn't look like another drop. Like it's gonna fall again.
Yeah, if it's might have found the bottom on the long band there.
Yep. It's not to say that it can't break this and go lower, sure. But I would definitely wait, you know, if I was going to short this. Obviously, you're probably in a better position if you short it on this deviation. If it gets to that point, you know. I'm seeing if there's a spot where it's a good example. It's kind of like when the short bands are in the red, it's going to fall. Like the shorter bands.
Uh-huh.
Like this was a big spot right here that this was the bigger play. And it's sort of the same thing here. Because essentially the short bands are just a longer band on a different time frame. Got any plans this weekend?
Not too much. Just took a few trees down a couple of weeks back, so I still got to chop up some of the trunks for firewood and stuff. So just the usual work around the yard.
Yeah, I gotta winterize my yard actually.
Yep.
The blow valve preventer. I gotta take that off today.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm in the opposite move where it's been hot today and should be nice and hot again tomorrow. So might actually get into the pool for the first time for the season.
Oh, nice. See, we're getting QQQ's looking a little overbought. Still go higher though. See if it's staying in that channel. Oh yeah. That's healthy looking. The weekly, I use it more for just seeing if it's in the channels itself. It's such a bigger movement, you know, like I call it a channel.
Yeah.
So if we stay like we were in this deviation through here, and then it broke through, and it climbed back up, and it's just been kind of hanging on this deviation for a little bit. Then it broke through, and then maybe it's going to retest this deviation again. We'll see.
You still doing long-term play on Amazon?
No. I think I got on Amazon was like last October.
Yeah,
Um,
I remember you talking about it.
yeah, I mean, it's the profit through here. I'm just kind of looking at the overall market, because when I see something like this, it looks like we're running away from that the deviation. It might be looking for a lower price.
Yeah,
So I'm just looking for more like a better entry. So maybe the entry is where it bounced right here. You know,
yeah,
maybe that entry's, maybe it did bounce already. I'm not certain yet. So I'm just sort of seeing it. It looks like it could like stumble off and then fall down again, and maybe that entry would be better down here. So,
sure.
yeah, I'm just kind of waiting on these. You know, just seeing if I can get a better entry on it. Right now, I'm not going to play it.
Yep.
eBay. So it's like last year was like my better swings because they were in the oversold sections.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're in this like we're in the different range. Now we're in the overbought sections, right? So it was the same when I played this trade here. It was the same thing that happened. It was in the green, even though this is the weekly. The daily shows it was a prettier trade. There you go.
Yeah,
so,
nice.
Yeah, so you can definitely see it was already in the green. So it's just a waiting period just to see on the shorter time frame when it was going to start bouncing. And then this, I got some great profit. It was like I think it was about a $12 move or something, $10.
Yep.
So it was a good play. I didn't do the short or anything. I usually just close my position. I don't try to get too greedy, and I don't like to double dip. Like double dipping is almost like it's like gambling. It's like an addiction. So,
sure.
So I don't really double dip. I'll just either see if it's gonna have some accumulation through here and bounce, or if it's gonna keep falling, and maybe I'll just play this entry again. So yeah, for me, it's just it's a drought. It's a drought season when it comes to some of my longer term plays.
Mm-hmm.
I was playing Starbucks this summer, so and it gave me some pretty good profit. And again, I'm just kind of seeing if it's going to bounce off these deviations again. It's just a waiting game. I think the closer we get to the holidays, will give me a better outlook of what's going to happen to do a longer play. Because that's what we're talking about, like a long play where you're not gonna you're gonna put your hands under your butt, you're gonna sit on them, you're not gonna touch the trade, you already got your risk assessment set up, and you're gonna let it be.
Yep.
Right. So someone was asking me, and they said, "What's the greatest advice?" You know, because I've been trading for almost 10 years. What's your greatest advice? I said, "Well, the greatest advice is just to sit on your hands in a trade. You know, rely on your rules, your technicals, and because as soon as you get antsy and stuff, you're not trading technically, you're trading mentally. So if you're like, oh, I should sell, you know, you're breaking your rules. So, and I mean, I even do it sometimes, right? Like I'll get into a trade and I'll look at it and be like, man, I think it's just going to drop, and it doesn't, and it bounces, and I just broke my own rules. So it's just important just to play the rules, you know, your rules. My rules are using the indicator. Some other rules could be using the RSI or MACD. Some could be, you know, fib retracement. Some could be fundamental news. Some could be earnings. So it really just depends on like your style of what makes you comfortable and what you know has made you profit. So anyway, I have to wrap this up soon because I have to. I think she's looking at me. Yeah, I have to go.
Absolutely.
But yeah, this was a good conversation with you. Hopefully we can populate our server again. If you see anybody who's like interested in trading whatever, because we trade
Yeah.
whatever here, just give them the link, and we'll hopefully we can populate this place again.
No worries. Yeah, it'd be good to get a bit more activity going.
Yeah, but have a good weekend. You can always
Likewise.
hit me up on Discord or whatever, and if you're thinking about getting into a trade, and we can talk about it, evaluate it, and yeah, cheers.
All right. Good one. Talk to you later.
All right, take it easy.